started teaching this is because we had a transaction we were in the middle of one time, about 2 years ago. Fortunately, it was a refinance. But we get down to closing, and we noticed on the title commitment when we got the title commitment that there was a UCC filing. We're like, what? I mean, this was pretty new to us at the time. We don't normally see UCC filings. And upon further investigation, we realized that they had solar panels, and the solar panel company filed a UCC. So it doesn't always show up whenever you're doing research. It doesn't always show up clearly. So uniform consumer credit, commercial, okay. So if you are if you're financing basically personal property, then you have to go through licensing. You can't just decide that, hey, I'm going to be in business as an investor and I'm going to start using my money to loan to other people. I mean, there's some regulation to that. And so whenever you do loan the money, the UCC filing goes along with that if it's done right on personal property. So that's why it doesn't show up on the property as a lien, because it's not a lien against the property, it's a UCC filing, which had happened in this case. Well, when people buy solar, it's financed in a lot of different ways, but typically they're not buying it outright. So there's a payment associated with it. So now we have to re-qualify these folks that we're doing a refinance because they have a payment that was associated to those panels, perfect, that we weren't aware of. And the consumers really aren't aware of how that applies to them whenever it comes to a real estate transaction. So it wasn't like they were withholding information from us. Although on the credit report, the actual debt wasn't reported, and they did sign something saying that the debts that were listed on the application are all their debts. But it wasn't like I don't believe they intentionally left that out. They just weren't thinking about it. We've learned a lot since then, and we've created a lot of checklists for you guys so that you have what you need whenever you pull up to a property to list it or to show it and you see solar panels. Last year when we did this class, Maureen, I always want to say Maureen Kane, Maureen Stevenson was here, and she was in the middle of a transaction with solar panels. She didn't know to ask the questions that she learned in the class that she needed to ask. And what she found out is the seller who thought that they were going to net XYZ owed money on the solar panels, and it was actually going to cost them money to close on the transaction. A couple of months ago, I don't see Christy Tynan on here. Christy Tynan was in the middle of a transaction. It was an elderly man, and he got hit with the door knockers selling solar panels, solar energy. And then he got hit with another selling them asphalt driveway. And he ended up owing more money. I mean, he agreed to these services. The services were provided. And now she didn't realize until later what was owed. I mean, she noticed the solar panel, but she wasn't thinking, you know, what he paid for the asphalt hadn't been paid for yet. And that too was a UCC filing. So he ended up with 2 filings that had to be paid, and he was hoping to make enough money to go to, you know, assisted living, had to make other financial arrangements because of the money spent on both asphalt and solar panels. What can we do to educate? I don't know how to reach those that are getting taken advantage of in some of those situations, because it's not like you guys can do videos on Facebook and then reach that demographic. I don't know, but I know that it's happening, and we're seeing these on these transactions, and it's really sad. when the cost was unintentional. I mean, at 80 something years old, are you really ever going to get the benefit of solar? Yeah. So it's just something we're seeing more and more. BJ, I'm glad you're on the call. I have not been able to reach Brandy, and Tracy can't be here. Do your best and I'll monitor also. I'm going to share the screen in just a little bit, and we're going to go through these slides, but also know that we're going to provide for you handouts that you will receive. So whenever you are listing a property that's got solar, or you are showing a property that has solar, you know what questions you need to be asking, because that's really important. And then how it affects the mortgage transaction, so that you understand that piece of it too. Then I've done these classes before. I had a panel of insurance agent, inspector, appraiser, title company. And I've done it a couple of times, so I thought that I should be able to answer all of those questions related to that as well. But as we go, think, all right, if I was selling a property and I'm getting the inspection done, what do I need to know? What questions do I need to ask? What do I need to pay attention to for the inspection part of the process? What is this going to do to the value of the home? What is this going to do to the roof condition or the structural integrity of the home based on the installation of the panels? How is this going to affect the title commitments? It shouldn't affect the survey unless the panels are on brackets on the ground, and then it could. So do you need to know where they're sitting? Are they sitting on a line that you can't see on top of the ground, but you need to look at the survey to see? Monica, you've got the aha look. Are you thinking?
Well, no, just that, you know, that it's not just on the roof, that it could be.
It could be. It could be.
On the ground.
So as you guys have those questions, write those questions down, because I want to be able to address any of those scenarios. It's kind of new to us too, so we may need to talk some of these out. But I also just want to show you a great resource page that BJ put together for you guys. And if you go to my website, michellcastle.info, and you go over here to partner resources, this is where we try to keep all of those charts and checklists that you need. So if you scroll on down here now, if you're not on HomeBot, you're missing business, I promise. This is such an amazing tool. Let's get together if you're not doing HomeBot with me. But over here, I have all of your mortgage calculators. So you can go in here and see based on, you just click on the links, go put the scenario in, and it's a mortgage calculator. If you choose Texas, the taxes and insurance should be pretty close to correct. Mortgage affordability, how much house can I afford? People ask that question all the time. That link is right here on this page. How much income do I need to in order to qualify for this house? That
Hey,
link is on
Michelle.
this page. Yeah.
Can
You're
you
not
share
seeing
your
it.
screen, please?
No, I cannot. Hang on. I'm kidding. But you know that. I gotta find you first. And so there's just some good calculators on over here for your reference. If you do have a referral for us, which we would greatly appreciate, here's a great way. Just copy and paste this and use this as an email to introduce us to your client and your client to us. There's a collateral book of all of these things that I can help pay for from a marketing standpoint. Click on that link. It'll download a PDF of all kind of ideas. And if you're short ideas on how to use it, ask me. I am never short ideas, especially whenever it comes to prospecting. Home buyer guide that you can download and give to your clients as a PDF, or you can print it out and put in folders. But right here, you'll see the solar panel checklist. There's also a checklist in there for mobile homes. So if you're showing or listing a mobile home, what do you need to know? But we're going to cover all of this. This this is on the website. So if you want to do a screenshot and save it, if you want to just tag this page so you can always go back to it, all of this information is there. What's really important is for you to know how the seller acquired the solar panels in the first place. I'm going to send it to you as a PDF as part of the class summary on Friday. No later than Monday. Yeah. Because you're going to want that. But sometimes you just need it on your phone because you're on the fly. Yeah, good. It's easy to access it from there, but here's your mobile home checklist. We do singles and we do doubles, but there's different guidelines for a single than there is double, and you need to know what those are. I don't know many places in town that will do single wides, and there's only, I think, one other place in town that will do double wides. We do them really well because we've just been doing them for 20-something years. So it's just part of what we do. Just keep in mind that double wides or mobile homes out on VFW land out at the lake, that's leasehold property, and I can't do that. So make sure that the land is owned. And if the land's not owned, we can do a transfer of title. It's just another lengthy process. Speaking of builder, while I'm on this subject, we have now a department that will handle land development. So if you have a builder or you have a developer that's wanting to develop out some land, we will finance the infrastructure and the construction as a line of credit. And then but the trade-off is we're providing the financing for that neighborhood. We become the lender on that neighborhood once the houses are built. But it's a pretty cool line of credit program that you typically can't get at the local banks. Plus we can lend a little bit more than what the local banks have or have the ability to lend. So just if you have those, just let me know and I'll refer them to that department. There's one lady that handles that for everybody. I don't remember who was asking. Oh, there you go. I heard the limit. It was rather large, so I was like, that'll cover anything we have going around here. But I don't remember what it was. That's a great song. Okay, solar panels. Let's see, I fixed this where I should be able to view the slides in full without it going blank. Y'all cross your fingers right now. Ready? Okay. All right. So from this class, what you guys are going to get is the 5 ways to acquire a solar system. So you know what questions to ask. The definition of the UCC filing and the financing agreement that goes with that. How the solar systems impact the appraised value and the documents needed from the seller before the MLS is, before you really put it in the MLS. I mean, it needs to be done right up front. You know, while we're on that appraisal subject and just making sure that you've got the MLS and information in the MLS accurate and how it needs to be, you guys keep in mind the description that you have in the MLS is what the appraisers are using whenever they're pulling comps. They're looking at pictures, they're looking at the data of the sale, and they're looking at your description to determine the condition of your comps, of your sales that will be used as comps later. How many of you guys use an artificial intelligent chat GPT to write your, right? How many of you guys are using, I mean, you're just being really creative and using your marketing spin on things when you're listing the property, right? After that home sells, if you fluffed the information a little bit to make it, you know, to catch people's attention using all of the right words, please go in and correct that for the appraisers, please, because the information in the MLS is what the appraisers are using. So take out some of the marketing fluff and say it like it is, because that is really important.
Can you give us a for instance?
Who's got a good for instance for me?
I overdo it. I'm gonna stop. I describe the squirrels and the trees. Tell them that way back. Maybe that's better.
But the squirrels are still in the trees and the birds are building
Yeah,
nests because it's
I
springtime.
use them as an advertising tool.
Yeah, it's the
Because it
imagery,
goes
it's the
over and-
visual.
And you're gonna sell the sizzle on the state.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying kind of minimize that.
Well, and you know, if it's updated, but it's not like wildly updated, maybe describe what was updated in more detail so that the appraiser, I mean, if it was, yeah, or if it was updated with synthetic countertop versus natural stone, describe that. Updated kitchen countertops replaced with tile or whatever. Because if the appraiser is looking at a subject property that has granite in it, and he thinks that yours is updated to that same standard, it may or may not need to be adjusted based on the standards of update.
So are you telling me that the appraisers don't go out and look at the properties?
They look at your subject property. They're not looking at the comps. They're not walking inside of those comps. They're driving by and then using your description. So if your subject property has granite and all of this finish out, and they're looking at comps and it looks like a nice, fresh, clean remodel, but you know that really on that particular house, it really was just an investor that went through and just freshened everything up. But this subject property over here was clearly remodeled, then you want your freshened up remodel to be descriptive of a fresh up remodel, not a gut remodel. However you need to put it in there. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, I was after we had that conversation last week with, no, 2 weeks ago with the appraisers, I forgot that we really needed to address that too. That's true. There's times where we're doing drive-bys and we're clearly going off of description at that point. We're not seeing that quite so much. And the cost of a drive-by is really not a whole lot cheaper than a full appraisal. So what we have experienced is some of those drive-bys are coming in low because they're having to err on the side of caution because they hadn't seen the house for themselves. So we're not using that, but it could be another lender a lender could use that because it's an option. We just aren't real big fans of that. What Cindy?
How do you know if they're using a drive-by or if they've actually gone in? Tell you in the report.
The lender will know. You would know, you should know if the lender is clearly communicating with you. I can't tell you how other lenders operate. You should know, but will you? I can't promise. All right, so there's five different ways to acquire a solar panel system. Of course, you could pay cash. How many of your consumers, how many of your property owners are writing a check for what, 50, 60, 70,000, 80,000, whatever solar system cost? Not many. You could get a secured loan. You could get an unsecured loan. Of course, on a secured loan, they would be securing it to the solar panels in most cases. That'd be their collateral. The interest rate's going to be better on a secured loan because if they don't pay, they have something to come after. An unsecured loan is going to have a little bit higher interest rate. Could be a lot higher. And then they can also lease the systems. Yeah. So whenever on the UCC filing, so if it's a secure loan and they do a UCC filing, then it is secured against the fixtures, which would be the solar panels. And it is an actual legal document that's filed. It's filed of record. It's public record. And then there's a financing agreement that goes along with it because it's regulated. There's max APRs that can be charged on the UCC the financing that's available through the UCC filings. So just know that if someone did finance the property, there is a financial instrument that was used that should define the terms of the loan. Whether it's secured or unsecured, they should have a document that gives the terms of the loan.
Michelle, you said it was a public record.
Mhm.
So besides waiting for the title commitment, how else can someone go in and find
Social,
that record?
social security number. Because it's not going to be, they're not going to pull it up based on property address because it wasn't a lien. It's going to be recorded under the social security number. That's how it shows up on title. Sometimes so, only if they report. Most of them do not report. And because public records no longer show up on credit report like they used to, we can't count on it to be there.
So
Yeah.
where do you definitively, when you're doing a loan, where do you definitively put it?
On the title commitment, then we have to ask for the financial statement. Yeah. Yep. It is reported at the county and it is on the county records, but it's not tied to the property address. Unless it was filed a lien, unless it was a lien that was filed. It's not a lien if it's a, unless it was filed as a lien. But these solar panel companies at this point have not been filing them as second liens. Now, it could be that they go to First United Bank and go get a loan to put in the solar panels. And at that point, there would be a lien against the property for the solar panels. But in that case, it's not, it's my understanding right now, the banks aren't financing the solar panels. So the lien would be on the property using the equity in the property to pay for the solar panels. What, Monica? I know. This is why I'm saying when you guys pull up to a property that has solar panels, it's not like these are hidden in the attic. You see them. You gotta ask questions. But now you understand why some people get in the middle of a big old hairball in the middle of a transaction if they didn't ask questions up front.
So what's happening, like you see the Facebook ads all the time, free solar panels, and I know they're not free. I know they're selling these liens. Isn't that usually like a 30-year lease or 30-year event? And then they're obligated to that and they have to pay it off when they go to closing.
Yep. That's exactly what's happening. People are signing up for the little carrot that's dangled, you know, and they're signing financial documents, obligating themselves to long-term loans because that's the only way to make the payment affordable. That's a lot of money. So it's the only way to make the payment affordable is on these long-term loans at what I would imagine right now would be a high interest rate because heck, the banks are at 9 or greater. So yeah, it's a big obligation. So how does this affect your mortgage transaction? So unless the solar panels are owned free and clear, they will not contribute to the value of the home because they aren't owned. There's no contribution. There's nothing to add to the value if the owner does not own the solar panels. That's a big deal. I know. Yeah, you see some of them like they were installed. There's it just doesn't. It's not even symmetrical to the roof, and you're like, oh, is this? Yeah. Or the front of the house. Yeah.
But if the seller has the panels on the house, and when they go to close, they're gonna pay off the panels,
Correct.
then can the buyer have it?
Okay, I understand your question, but remember the appraisal is done prior to. If the value is as it is at that time, will the appraisers give value if they know at closing that the panels are being paid off as part of the closing? That's a question we need to talk to the appraisers about, because it's possible that they would in that scenario,
That's what I was trying to say.
but it would be a subject to.
Don't you also have to address it?
It is. Okay, so you guys, let's just talk about so I want to make sure that you guys understand the documentation needed from the seller before we talk about some scenarios. So number one, you need the solar panel agreement. You need the purchase agreement. How are the solar panels being paid for? Is it a lease? Is it a secured, an unsecured? What's the terms of the panels? What's the terms of the agreement? How long do they owe the money? What's the interest? What's the payments? Is it a balloon? Is it a fixed? Is it an adjustable? That's all important information, unless they're going to pay it off. But a lot of these sellers don't have enough equity in their home and they weren't planning on paying it off. Especially if you didn't include that in their net in the very beginning. Because now you're taking money away from them in their eyes. It was profit that they had in their head. Totally forgot that they owed on the solar panel. Now you're taking it away, even though you're really not the bad guy, but you know how the mind works.
So is that a simple loan? Yeah.
Some are, but you got to qualify.
And if you're qualified for the house.
Yep.
And you're.
I got to know what that payment is, because I got to determine whether or not they qualify to buy the house with the panel, the solar panel payment. And then you got to find out in that, looking at that agreement, is it assumable? And if so, what are the terms of the assumption?
Most of them are probably due on sale. I've seen a couple
That are due on sale. But all of that's going to be spelled out in that agreement. You guys need to be really reading closely. All right, so let's just talk about, let me just bring up one scenario for you right now. What did we just experience about a month ago? A hailstorm. How did that affect solar panels? You don't know. Is your inspector qualified to go inspect the solar panels to make sure the solar panels didn't get compromised with the hailstorm? Or do you need to get the solar panel company out there to look at that?
So our license is required to run.
I don't know. What if the insurance company didn't know you had solar panels put on after they wrote a policy?
Don't to sell. So I have a house that has 38 solar panels that they're paid off, not people that bought the house. The sellers when we closed, they had paid all.
They had paid it off.
So now they're all paid for.
Mhm.
There's a 22-year transferable warranty. So wouldn't that warranty cover?
That
the
warranty
solar
should
panels?
cover a
Collateral
hailstorm.
damage?
Yeah. So what we've experienced on our end, because we service our own loans, we get the pleasure of dealing with hailstorms and things like that. So we've had a lot of folks come in, and the solar panel company that they used are the only ones that will allow the solar, because of the warranty. They're the ones that need to come and remove the solar panels from the house, from the roof, so the roof can get fixed. That's in the agreement. But my customers had a hard time getting a hold of the solar panel company to come remove the solar panels, and the roofing company will not come and do the roof until the solar panels are properly removed. And then they'll have to coordinate reinstalling it. So now Texoma Roofing, I heard last week at Better Homes and Garden, they came out and they said that they are qualified to remove them as long as it doesn't void the, they've still got to have conversation with the solar panel company to make sure that it's not going to void any warranty. So these are all questions I want you guys to be making notes of, because it's all the things that as a buyer's rep or a seller's rep that you need to be aware of. How many
Michelle?
people yeah.
Have you had any experience, or has anybody had any experience with people that want a home but they don't want the solar panels? And
Yes.
can it fall under a TRR?
Yes, we have had some scenarios where the buyer did not want the solar panels, so the seller had to pay off the solar panels and have them removed, and then an inspection done after removal to make sure that they were satisfied with the the holes being patched and all of that on the removal. I don't know from a broker, who's the broker in here? Where would you want that addressed in the contract?
This is a very good question. Probably in the listing agreement, I would say, I would probably first of all put in the listing agreement that these are possible scenarios and it's got to be paid off and those type of things.
And then the removal part of
And
it,
then there is, if you're gonna go for a removal, I'd almost want to have an attorney write that up.
I would suggest an attorney in that case, because I wouldn't want, I mean, you guys think about it. What if the solar panel brackets were installed and when they did, they compromised the structural integrity of the roof, right? And then they removed them and now all of a sudden, I mean, I would want to make sure that you are definitely protected from a liability standpoint.
Yeah, there's no addendum, so I would have an attorney.
Yeah. So, Danny, the recommendation is have an attorney help you draw up an agreement that protects all parties.
Okay, thank you.
I like your on-track agent shirt. If you guys are looking for more little 10 to 15 minute little segment trainings, on-track agent, look it up. They've got good training, realtor training. And then they also have new realtor agent training that's like a boot camp that's incredible. Danny went through whenever he was new to the business. All right, any other scenarios or questions that you guys want to address this far? I want you to know that I believe in sustainability. I'm not against solar panels. I'm just telling you guys, we've got to make sure that we do it right, because there's a lot at stake. Yes, ma'am.
So what's the value of the solar panels?
Well, okay, that's a really good question. You guys remember, it's the appraiser's responsibility to write a report with facts, stats, documented to show that there is a market demand for that particular amenity to the property or that property, right? And he's got to have something to compare it to see what consumers are willing to pay for that thing. There is not just like a line item adjustment that you will see that is like a standard adjustment if someone's got solar panels. So until we have more transactions with solar panels and without solar panels for the same or like properties, to see what people are willing to pay, what additional money they're willing to pay for solar panels, how do we determine what the marketability is? What the resale value is of a house with solar panels.
I have a question. I have no experience with solar panels, obviously. So if you have a 3,000 square foot home, 2,000 square foot home, do they both have the same number of solar panels? Or can you say, no, I only want 4, I don't need 16?
When someone comes out, has anybody ever had talk to a solar panel company for their house? You want to speak specifically to that, and then I'll share my scenario, my story.
We're gonna interview you and try to find out how much of your electric bill, et cetera, you actually have to be
I'll share with y'all.
taken from the solar panels, like you want 100% or 50%. So they'll figure that out, and then depending on how home faces.
Mhm.
When we had ours done, we didn't have a great location for any of the solar panels. So it just depends on if you have trees, don't have trees, what house faces. Just a lot.
Yeah. So,
Short,
and
yeah.
it also, right, so how many panels you have, number one, how much of your energy cost do you want to subsidize with solar? How much solar energy could you harness during when how much is available, and then what your household usage is. Well, what my household usage is and what your household usage is going to greatly change. It really, I mean, a lot of it depending on what temperature do you keep your thermostat on. Yeah.
And how many people live in there?
And how many people live in there?
Because you've got different. rooms,
Right.
different lights, so-
And do you cook with an oven and a stove that's all electric every single day, or do you use the air fryer? I mean, like, everybody, the way they live is different. So the usage is needs going to be different.
So, and this is not an absolute, but I think a homeowner could have more panels than they need as well, and then sell that electricity back to the company.
Absolutely, depending on the agreement
Yeah.
with the energy company, because a lot of these energy companies are no longer offering that.
Yeah.
They are not offering the sell back. That was when they first came out. The new ones do not.
Back to the kind of beginning of this. Valuing solar panels and getting,
Mhm.
appraisers getting comps.
Mhm.
Now, maybe this is old rumor, but I always heard it's kind of like a swimming pool. A lot of people tell you personally, they're not giving much value to a swimming pool,
Mm-hmm,
but there's a lot more swimming pools to comp on than solar.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is it something along that line?
Yes, very much so. And so to Ben's point is we don't have enough transactions in this area right now to know what the demand is. Right now, from what we've experienced is that the solar panels are already on the house, and now you're trying to figure out what to do with solar panels. People aren't specifically looking for houses with solar panels.
I've never had anybody
Yet.
say it's gonna be under the house.
Right. But with the swimming pool, for a long time, the pools just came with the house. And now we've got, you've got that divide. You either want a pool or you don't want a pool typically. And so that is something that people will search for.
I will correct myself. I believe I said that the pools don't bring value.
I know what you meant. Yes.
Actually, they don't bring value to home compared to what the cost of the.
Correct.
It's sitting there in the backyard, you still don't get a lot of value. So
And the same thing with solar panels. So you're not going to get dollar for dollar on the value for sure.
And from an appraisal class I took, I think there are a couple of books or sites that appraisers use
Right.
to find value, especially if it was like a new build or something. They do have.
There is a line item, but they're not necessarily going to go, oh, you got solar panels, so I'm going to give you this value without proving that it is that people are willing to pay for that. Yes, Angie.
Oh, I was just saying, you also gotta check with your electric company when you come in, because some companies will use that source only to a certain extent,
Mhm.
where the solar people will say, oh, they'll take all that energy, give you money back. That's not true. Tri-County in Fort Worth,
Yeah.
a lot of people were putting the wind generators
Mhm.
up. They only take a certain amount of that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, and they would not pay you X, like if you went $300 in excess over your electric bill, they're not gonna give you that $300. They're gonna basically credit you, but they only credit you a certain amount.
Yeah, so you don't get all of that you're giving back. You don't get credit for all the power you're giving back.
So you gotta do due diligence on that with whatever electric company you're with. If the buyer says, oh, they'll do this. you need to
Which would be
check.
TXU in our area or Encore.
Yeah.
GCEC.
Or GCEC.
Do they
Mhm.
participate
Mhm.
in this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So all of those things need to be taken into consideration. All right. Any questions on Zoom? Hi, Stephen.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
if they were on the ground and like you said with the survey, and they weren't, do they have to follow the setback rules like you do when you do buildings or houses or things like that?
Yep.
Because what if they weren't in the right setback?
Yes,
And
you got to pay
had
attention to the easements and the setbacks and the, yes.
the buyer
yes.
or the seller.
I
And then
can't
maybe it's
imagine,
HOAs, you know,
And-
it's, or if they're on the ground, then that's.
yep. Yes, all that has to be, the setbacks and easements and all that has to be taken into consideration, yeah. Now, so keep in mind, again, we as a lender, I mean, you pull up to the property, you see solar panels. Bells go off. Even if I'm not the lender on the transaction, I say this on VA transactions too, because they can get tricky too. Then text me and I'll tell you, I'll remind you what to do. Because I don't want y'all screwing it up. What you guys do in the business, what each one of you guys do in the business and how the transaction goes affects every one of your relationships. I mean, your reputations. We are a community and people see us as realtors, see y'all as realtors. And so it's really important what you do and how you conduct business as a professional affects all of us as professionals. So that's the reason I offer that to you guys, because I can't tell you what to do. And there's a lot of times that I'm going to say, you need to talk to your broker about that. But I can tell you from a lending standpoint, what are some of the things, what are the questions you need to be asking? What's the documentation you need to be gathering? Because I don't want y'all screwing it up. And if for some reason the deal does go south later, I want to know enough about it that I can help you fix it. Because it's not if, it's when a deal is going to go south, because they just do sometimes. Especially if you're, you know, you're working with someone who hasn't been working with solar panels. So again, you guys are going to get copies of these slides and you're going to get the checklist too. But just the main thing is there is going to be a payment associated in most cases to the solar panel. We have had 3 transactions in the last 6 months where when we find out that there's a solar panel and we get the agreement, the customer no longer qualifies for that house. We need to figure that out during the option period. So if you don't have the documentation and the option period is about to expire, get an extension till you get the paperwork that has the terms of the solar panels so that we can make sure that the buyer is okay. That part is really important. So some of the things that we're going to want is the solar panel purchase agreement. We're going to want any amendments that have been made. It would be really great. You guys really need any warranty agreements on there and who installed it and what happens if there is an insurance claim and you do need to remove those solar panels. Who's going to remove them? Will they allow a roofer to remove them or do they have to come remove them? Make sure your inspector knows how to inspect the roof with solar panels on it and feels comfortable with that. Y'all, there's wiring involved, a lot of wire, a lot of juice going through that wire. And then they have to securely fasten them to the roof. But did they do so where it's safe and they're not going to blow off and blow the roof off with it without going through rafters? JJ Simiday, on one of these classes, talked about where someone literally went through a rafter whenever they were fastening it, compromising the structural integrity of the roof. So all of these things matter. You also want to know most recent monthly solar loan account statement, because you really want to see how much power is it producing, how much are they selling back to the electric company, is the electric company receiving any of the electric and giving credit. All of that stuff matters. Documentation that provides the manufacturer. You really want to see those utility bills. If they're going to spend $350 a month, what in addition are they going to pay in utilities? Because a lot of times though, solar is not providing 100% of the electricity. They're still got an electric bill. And
Screen
these
share,
electric
please.
providers, huh?
Can you do a screen share, please?
What do you mean? I don't have it on screen share. I thought I still did. A lot of the electric providers still have a service. Well, all of the electric providers are still going to provide because they're providing service to that property. There's a meter there. So there's still going to be a bill associated with it. Every house that I've had recently has had a swimming pool. And so I've had to have a separate electric panel for that swimming pool because that's required, right? So it's not like they're not going to have electric bill. If they've got a shop, they're going to have a bill. And is there enough solar panel to cover both? Or, ask the questions, get the data. And then the 12 months data from the website for the solar panel, the solar monitoring.
I get behind it, everything.
With a UCC filing where it's tied to, where it's a secured, they can come repossess. If it's unsecured, then they'll just file a judgment, I'm assuming.
But I guess so, like if they were selling because, they're getting behind and everything, they just have this.
Mhm.
They just have to catch up.
Catch up.
Has there been issues that you might know of where the company that has solar panels?
Yes, there has.
That could be a mess.
That can be a real mess.
It could be a
So
mess.
I would even make phone calls after you get the documentation, make sure this company still exists.
What if it doesn't?
What if it doesn't, Sean? What if we have a UCC filing on a solar panel that no longer is?
Most of them have, kind of like a mortgage loan, they have servicing lenders, so you can still reach the lender and I think those lenders are generating the productivity statements for them, as far as maintenance, upkeep.
Yeah, the maintenance and upkeep and all that needs to go back to the, the warranty on, Yep, so Sean Kincaid is in the room with Red River Title, and he said that a lot of these companies have servicers for the loans themselves. So the information on the terms of the loan and whether the loan is current and then some of the other documentation that you need would come from that servicer. But you still need to know who the solar panel company is from a warranty standpoint and servicing of the panels, because the servicer of the loan isn't going to take care of the physical product that they're financing. I just wanted to put names with faces. So if you guys have any questions at all, here's my team back at the office. They're the ones that keep everything going, so I can stay out here and help you guys on the day-to-day. So Brandy Squires is a loan officer for my team. Nicole and Marisa are both licensed loan officers as well. And then Dylan is always behind the scene. We call him our traffic controller. And then Tiffany Wild, y'all remember Tiffany Wild? Well, Tiffany is coming back on a part-time basis too, and she is also a licensed loan officer. So we try to make sure that everybody's licensed, because just like you, there's conversations that we can't have without a license. So I try to make sure my team is full of licensed loan officers, so that whenever you guys have questions, right now we're doing a ton of counseling. People want to buy, they can't buy because they don't have enough money saved up, or their credit has been compromised. Not compromised from a fraud standpoint, but just it's been hard times. And so when that happens, we can give some credit advice, but again, we're not certified to give all of the credit advice, and we will advise them to talk to your professional in that area. But we will also, I do credit, we do some financial coaching for them, part of which is a monthly video and tip that they're going to receive to help them from a financial standpoint and a credit standpoint. And then we do follow-ups with them. And then after 6 months, we're going to call, text, and email to touch bases with them again. Cindy, you had a couple people that just came up on their 6th hunt that I updated you on. So we don't forget them. We know that there's a lot of people that would like to be buying right now and just can't. It's just difficult. So it takes a team to keep up with all those that we've talked to today that we really want to help in the future. So that's the team behind it all. And then just as a reminder, if you get your phones out and you scan this QR code, This is gonna go to my calendar. So if anybody wants to book some time to talk about HomeBot, to put a business plan together, marketing strategy, lead generating ideas, prospecting, whatever it is, just get on my calendar, use that QR code, or I can send you the link. And then the next class, again, if you just keep that michellecastle.info on your phone, all of the classes we're teaching. Next week, I can't remember what we're doing next week. I'll look in just a few minutes. But I do have Carl Draper also coming next week. So 7 videos you should be making. You will leave there and I will challenge you to go make those videos and tag me in those videos. Number one, tagging me in the videos is going to help your social media because I got a pretty large presence on social. Number two, it's going to get you outside of your comfort zone. You're going to make a video. You're going to get over the, like, I sound stupid. I look stupid. I don't like the way I look. None of us do. Just post it. Don't even rewatch it. Just post it. I promise you sound like that in real life.
I promise you, I don't look anywhere near as cute as you in the video, so
I'm going to video you and post it. You've got so much wisdom you should be sharing.
I agree.
He does.
Wisdom from experience, you get experience from a lot of mistakes.
That you get wisdom from experience and you get experience from a lot of mistakes. Amen. That is like the best quote of the day. And then I have this Facebook group. It is for you guys. So if you have something, if you're looking for, Ben probably knows, but we're going to get Ben active in this Facebook group too. If you're looking for, I'm picking on you, Ben. If you're looking for an electrician, post it in there and say, hey, who's got an electrician that'll actually return a phone call right now? Because I need it for a closing in 3 days. Post it in there. And then I also have another Facebook group that is great for just once a morning is a positive affirmation. And then throughout the day, we all share other information and even have a chat just to keep everybody all fired up and happy for the day.